Hey students, welcome to our first lesson on motivation and emotion. In this lesson, we'll focus on motivation and the theories behind motivation. Let's go. Before we even get to talking about motivation, we have to define motivation. Now, motivation for you may mean something different, but this is what we're going to focus on here. The factors that direct and energize people's behavior towards a goal. In other words, the whys of behavior. For me, motivation is that which gets me up out of this chair and gets me moving. Psychology, we're going to focus on the biology behind motivation and also the thoughts behind motivation. Here we'll discuss the instinct theory, drive reduction, arousal, and Maslow's hierarchy. All right, first are instincts. Now, instincts are those things that you didn't have to learn. You were born with. You don't have to cognitively process your blinking or your breathing. These were things that you were born with. So inborn behaviors that are biologically determined rather than learned. As far as motivation is concerned, for humans, we don't use this to explain behavior so much, but we do for birds and other animals. Birds they're going to make a nest whether they're in isolation or not. Human beings have inclinations towards cleanliness and belonging, so we need to keep ourselves clean. That's one of the instincts that we as humans are uniquely qualified for. Next is drive reduction. Now, we are motivated, energized, and directed towards a goal by drives. We want to reduce a drive. What is a drive? It is the force that motivates an organism to take action. A basic biological need produces tension. So right now, I am hungry. I am going to be driven to the kitchen to get myself a snack. If I'm thirsty, I am driven by this tension to get a drink. This relieves the tension. And so the motivation behind getting a drink is to reduce the drive. The answer is in the question for this one. What's the drive reduction theory? It is that which reduces a drive. The drive reduction theory is based in biology because of homeostasis, which is a term you're probably familiar with. Homeostasis is that body's tendency to maintain a steady and internal balance. Works a little bit like a thermostat. You're too cold, you put on a jacket. You're hungry, you eat. You're thirsty, you drink. We need the balance because of things like glucose levels, insulin levels. When they drop, we need to eat. That's biology. All right, arousal theory. The optimum arousal theory is when we try to maintain optimum levels of stimulation and activity, increasing or reducing them as necessary. For example, if we're bored, we look for stimulation. Think back to COVID times. We were stuck at home and a lot of people took up hobbies that they didn't have otherwise, like baking. They adopted puppies. They did the things. In my neighborhood, lots of people went for walks. I saw them out all the time. So if we are bored, we look for other things to do. I had a student who taught themselves how to juggle. Pretty cool. Optimum arousal also has a concept known as the Yerkes-Dodson law. Now, Yerkes-Dodson, there's not many laws in psychology, but this happens to be one of them, says that moderate arousal leads to the best performance. So we seek not too hard, not too soft. We want a moderate arousal level in order to perform our best. For example, for you, if you have a big test taking up, if you are super anxiety filled, you may not perform as well as you would if you were just kind of I see kind of low level of arousal. If we were performing in front of a home crowd and we got to shoot the free throws, we might feel a little bit more at ease than if we were at an away game. So Yerkes-Dodson law, that arousal leads to either better or worse performance. Think of another example might be when you get to that class that's just too hard. You might find yourself just giving up. Forget it. I don't know how to do it anyways. You might have done that in a math class. I don't understand this. And then you come up with all kinds of different excuses as to why you're not going to do your homework. If it's too easy, you put that class's homework off. You say, I'll get it done. It's so easy. I can do it in my sleep. And then you don't do it. So Yerkes-Dodson, as teachers, we try to reach that sweet spot of not too hard, not too soft, get it just right in the middle. Doesn't always work. A fourth theory of motivation, which is an easy one to remember, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's easy to remember because it is arranged in a hierarchy, which means we start from the bottom, work our way up to the top. And he says that we are motivated by a conscious desire for personal growth and artistic fulfillment. He's a humanist, and he says that we're trying to be the best person that we're going to be. We're trying to live our best life. But before we can do that, we first have to meet our physiological needs, which are satisfying hunger, thirst, and some say sex. Not everybody says that we have to have sex to survive. Safety needs includes feeling safe and secure and out of danger. Once we feel those two needs are met, then we can move up to loving belonging, our family, our friends, and being accepted, maybe joining a team. Self-esteem then is to achieve gain approval and respect. So now that you're on the team, you want to be recognized for your achievements. You scored the most points, so look at me go, yay. And once we have achieved that level, then we're going to be self-actualized. Now, self-actualization is the pinnacle of the hierarchy, as you can see. And it's special because you are the only one who gets to decide whether or not you're self-actualized or your therapist, if you're seeing a humanist therapist. But this means that you are fulfilling your own unique potential. So you are motivated to become self-actualized according to Abraham Maslow. What does it mean to be fulfilled? Your creativity, morality, your lack of prejudice, and growth. Now, you being in the position that you are as a sophomore, junior, senior in high school, maybe even freshman too, you're probably not going to be self-actualized because you have a lot more life to live. But me, I have been self-actualized a couple of different times in my lifetime. I've fulfilled my unique potential, but I still have more to do as well. So it kind of wanes, it webs and flows, waves, it goes up and down is what I'm trying to say here. All right, we'll switch to the thoughts behind motivation. And yes, we do think about motivation because when I get a good grade, I feel pretty great about myself. But that is based on my thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, and intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation, these are what they sound like. Inside, comes from inside. We are motivated by our own enjoyment rather than for any concrete, tangible reward. We do it because it brings us joy. And extrinsic motivation is when we do it when we get a reward for it. Money, grades, something concrete and tangible. And so here's the story of Betty and Bert. So Betty studies because it's challenging. She's aroused, but it also gives her a sense of accomplishment and it makes her feel good about it. Bert, on the other hand, he gets money from his parents when he gets a good grade, and he also gets grounded when he doesn't. So those are extrinsic motivators. And guess which one public education is built upon? Yes, extrinsic motivation. We give you grades, we give you praise, we give you things, and that doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody wants to learn about motivational theories. I get it. We are also motivated cognitively by achievement. Achievement makes us more motivated. So as we achieve more, we get more motivated. We are motivated, so we're motivated, and then we're more motivated because we're more successful. So we are willing to take on moderately challenging tasks to ensure successes. This leads to intrinsic motivation, which means leads to more challenges, which means leads to more success, etc. So do your best all the time and you'll be successful. We are also able to measure motivation somewhat in taking a thematic apperception test, also known as TAT. And this was developed by David McClellan, and it's a little bit tricky, so I'll explain more about it when we get to class. I will explain more in class, and I'll show you some thematic apperception tests. They're very subjective and kind of hard to score unless you're trained in it. So we'll take a look at some and see if it defines whether or not you're motivated, energized towards a goal. So that wraps things up. We have talked about instinct theory, drive reduction theory, arousal theory, and here's one key about arousal. When psychologists talk about arousal, they're not talking about like sexual arousal. They are talking about biological arousal, curiosity and interest. It doesn't have anything to do with sex. Arousal, we talked about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation and Maslow's hierarchy. These are the foundations of motivation for psychology, and we'll be learning more about those in the future.